From Washington, this is VOA News. Coming up, the latest on the Gaza conflict, deaths from Ebola on the increase in West Africa. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Norman. Israel and Hamas have agreed to a 72-hour ceasefire in the Gaza Strip beginning early Tuesday. The announcement came late Monday in Cairo, where Egyptian mediators held talks with the Palestinian delegation on terms of a durable truce in the Gaza conflict. Earlier on Monday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the country's military forces were nearing the end of their push to destroy tunnels Hamas has used to store weapons and infiltrate Israel. But he said Israel's 28-day campaign to demilitarize Gaza and end Hamas rocket launches into Israel will end only when there is a prolonged period of quiet and security for Israeli citizens. A New York City hospital is testing a man with symptoms of Ebola virus as the death toll from the outbreak in West Africa has jumped to nearly 900. Officials at Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York say a man suffering from a high fever and gastrointestinal problems arrived at the emergency room early Monday and was quickly isolated. They say the patient recently traveled to a West African country where Ebola has been reported and is now undergoing tests to determine the cause of his illness. No other details about the man were given. In Italy, which has been the destination for about 70,000 migrants from Africa so far this year, some people are concerned of an Ebola outbreak. The country's chief infectious diseases expert, Dr. Giovanni Reza, says it's unlikely Ebola has migrated to Italy, but if it does, he says, medical personnel can identify it and contain the virus.
We have a very long experience, quite a long experience now, because for the last years we had 10 or thousands of migrants coming from the coast of North Africa. So people who care for them are experts in the identification of symptoms and in taking all the appropriate measures they have to take.
Meantime, authorities in Nigeria Monday reported the country's second confirmed case of Ebola, a doctor who treated the first patient who died on July 25th in Lagos. Events surrounding the summit between President Obama and some 50 African heads of state are underway here in Washington. At a forum on African civil society Monday, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry urged participants to push for democracy and individual rights in their country. At an earlier forum on economic opportunity, Mr. Kerry outlined some of the U.S. goals for the three-day summit.
We're determined to deepen our partnerships and to deliver on remarkable opportunities for peace, for security, for rapid economic growth, and perhaps most importantly of all in the context of what brings us here today, the empowerment of people through their government, through their civil society.
President Obama will address the U.S.-Africa Business Forum on Tuesday and take part in sessions focused on economic growth, regional security, and good governance on Wednesday. U.S. is set to unveil nearly $1 billion in business deals, more funding for peacekeeping, and billions of dollars for food and power programs during the three-day summit. Ukraine's Defense Council has preparations are underway to retake control of the eastern city of Donetsk, the last stronghold of heavily armed pro-Russia separatists seeking autonomy from Kiev. Ukraine, Washington, and its European allies accuse Moscow of arming rebels and providing them with a missile battery used to bring down a Malaysian airliner last month. Jetliner with 298 people on board was down July 17th near Donetsk. There were no survivors. Search teams on Monday continued their hunt for the remains of more victims from Malaysia Airlines Flight 17. Libya's newly elected parliament held its first session Monday in the eastern city of Tobruk, 1,500 kilometers from fighting in the capital, Tripoli, between rival militias vying for control of the international airport. About three-fourths of the lawmakers showed up for the start of the parliamentary session that was held in a heavily guarded hotel, but the session was largely boycotted by pro-Islamist deputies, including the head of the outgoing parliament, who called for a rival opening session in Tripoli. For more news, go to our website at voanews.com.
That's the latest world news from VOA.